everybody, welcome back to Planet Conquer. So today I'm going to be turning this wardrobe into what I call a gamedrobe. It's basically going to have a PC desk inside, it's going to hold your PC and it's going to look fancy, it's going to hold your microphone and all other bits. So we'll have a look at the wardrobe. So as you can see, pretty standard wardrobe on the outside. And as you can see, it's pretty standard on the inside as well. So I've got some sheets of MDF wood. Basically I'm going to be cutting one to the same depth and width as my PC tower that I'm going to have stored inside a computer. And I'm going to cut two into the same width and depth of the wardrobe as well. So then you've got your main computer shelf and then another shelf at the top. Also I'll need to measure from the top of the wardrobe down to the first shelf, which I'm going to have right at the top. To take the measurement from there, and I'm also going to have to measure another piece of wood for the keyboard and mouse tray. Okay, so I've cut 4 out of the 5 bits of MDF that I need. So I've even labelled them, so you've got the part for the tower, the shelving part which will go at the very top. I haven't cut the other small section that will go from the top of the wardrobe down to the centre of the shelves yet, because I'm still not 100% on what size I want. I know roughly what size I want, but not the exact size, because I don't want this to be too low down and have too small a space between the actual desk and the shelves at the top. So I've labelled this one the desk, and then I've got the keyboard tray here as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the tower piece and we're going to take this turntable that I've got. Basically this turntable is going to allow this piece of wood to turn around, so once the tower is actually placed on that, then the tower will be able to rotate at the bottom of the wardrobe. The reason we're not doing measurements first is because this is going to be slightly raised, so what I need to do is actually get this part done, so then I can put the tower on it to find out the height that I need for the shelf on the desk shelf, and then once I've got that, then we can move on from there. So we're going to get this piece put on first. So the first thing we need to do is actually screw this onto this bit of wood here, the tower piece. Okay, once you have the screws put in, you should have something like this, and it should just spin around freely. Basically what we're going to do next is, because we're not going to be able to put the screws straight in from here to the wardrobe because this piece of wood's going to be in the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep it like a diamond, or a star if you like, and we're going to hold it steady and we're just going to mark some holes. Just make sure that you don't lose them. Right, and then basically we have 4 marks now. So we're going to drill all the way through. That will allow us to take our screwdriver all the way through these holes so that we can actually screw the screws into the wardrobe. So we'll drill them out now. And now you can see that we've now got 4 holes which will pass each screw through. You may be thinking, oh, I've got holes in my board, but it don't really matter because your computer will get a little bit of extra airflow through there. Okay, so what we're going to do is place it down. And then we're just going to flip it over, and basically you want to make sure that it turns. So put some weight on it. If it's hitting like that, then just drag it away a little bit, because you want it to turn perfectly round. So then you've got your horizontal and your vertical. And once you're happy, you're basically going to line up each of these holes with the holes from the base of the turntable, and then you're going to put your screws in. Once you've done that, you should have something that looks like this, and it should freely spin. I'm going to admit though, it was pretty tricky to get those screws in the holes, so what I ended up doing is pushing a pencil down to mark each of the holes where they need to be, and then I pre-screwed some of the holes, and then it just took me lining all 3 holes up to push the screws in, and that was a lot easier. So if you're struggling, then that might be something that might help you. Okay, so now we've done this part, we need to start measuring up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the measurement from our tower, so the height of the tower. We're then going to take the measurement from the height of this, so from the top of here to the bottom. We'll add that on. Then we need to add on the extra few centimetres for the keyboard tray. We're then going to have to add on for the height of our mouse and add a couple of millimetres, and then that will give us the height for the top of our desk. So then our desk should come along here, and it gives you room just underneath to be able to put your keyboard tray. Once I've done that, I'm then going to measure up at the top to work out where the top shelf part's going to go. So I'm going to have printer on there and my ink filling station, so that's going to go on that shelf as well. So I just need to get all those bits measured up, so I'll get all that measured up now. So as you can see, I've now got my markings put in place. And the next thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to use these little shelf supports to support the shelves, so I'm going to drill the holes for these to go in, ready to support the shelves. So as you can see, we have our holes drilled. So I've actually decided to change up from these, as I only have 4 of them and I need 8. I've actually changed up to these ones. So I've drilled all the holes for those ones. So the next thing that we have to do is paint up the wardrobe, or the gamedrobe as we call it. Before we start painting though, if you have any rails like I do at the top, it is important to take those off, as we don't need those. Once the wardrobe's painted, you should have something that looks like this. As you can see, I've painted the shelf, keyboard tray and desk. I've painted those all 3 grey on one side, and on the other side I've painted them black. Okay, so we're now going to take these shelf supports and put them in the wardrobe. Okay, so now that we've got our shelf brackets in here and here, we're now going to have to mark out where we want our sockets to go. So we're going to have a couple of sockets down here, and we're going to have a couple of sockets up here. So we just need to mark out those and then cut them out. So as you can see, I've cut the holes out for the sockets at the bottom there, so they're the bottom ones. As you can see here, I've also installed a socket back box in the middle of the gamedrobe, ready for some sockets to go there. And I've also installed a single socket back box at the top of the gamedrobe for me to connect my printer up to. So as you can see here, I've also cut out a socket and installed a HDMI faceplate, so I can connect a HDMI cable from the PC to the external of the wardrobe or gamedrobe. On the back of the gamedrobe, you can see I've installed a trunking system. So that goes from the double sockets from the bottom, and that's going to go all the way up to this centre socket, and then that'll continue all the way up to the top socket. As you can see here, I've actually installed a piece of MDF going all the way along the back of the gamedrobe. The reason I've done this is for when I install the monitor, it gives the mount something thick to hold on to, as the back of the wardrobe is too thin, so this makes it a lot thicker. So these are the face plates that we're going to be using for the gamedrobe. On the right hand side we have the Nexus Metal Black Nickel FCU. In the middle we have 2 double sockets, and they also have USBs, which means I can run strip lights in the gamedrobe. And then on the left hand side we have a single socket that also has 2 USBs, and I'll be using that to connect the printer up at the top. Okay, so I'm going to install those in the gamedrobe and wire them up. Now I've got my face plates all wired up. This is what it looks like now. So that's the bottom, as you've seen, and that's the centre, and that's the top socket. Just while we're on the topic of electricity, electricity is highly dangerous, and if you don't do the wiring properly, you do run the risk of burning your house down. and I will not take any responsibility whatsoever if you do attempt to copy the Gamedrobe and do your own wiring and it does burn your house down or cause any damage. So I highly recommend getting an electrician or a competent person to do the wiring for you. Okay, so these are the shelves for the Gamedrobe. You've got the main computer shelf, the top shelf, the divider, the keyboard tray, and all the runners and fixings that I'm going to need to put these in. So I'm going to fit those and then we'll have a look at it when I've done. Okay, so this is what the Gamedrobe looks like so far. As you can see, there's a shelf in the middle, there's a shelf on the top, and then you've got your keyboard and mouse tray on the bottom, the grey one at the bottom. Once you've put all the shelves in, this is what the Gamedrobe will look like. So you've got your keyboard and mouse tray. It doesn't slide because the sliders that I had didn't slide out far enough. And I had some other sliders, but they needed more distance at the back, which the Gamedrobe didn't have. So I gave up on that idea, and I've just used the 4 brackets that come with the sliders to hold this in place so it's fixed. You've then got the top tray here for anything that you need to put on that shelf. You've then got a top shelf here for your printer, and if you've got an Inksys kit you can put that on here as well. And then that's obviously it so far. Okay, so I've got a TV mount which will also hold a PC monitor, so it'll hold up to a 26-inch monitor, which is perfect for a Gamedrobe because I don't think you'd get much bigger than that in there. We've also got a ceiling mount, so that's going to hold a ring light to the top of the Gamedrobe, and we've also got 2 chrome handles which will go on the outside of the Gamedrobe to make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to fit those and then I'll show you that once that's done. So as you can see, we now have some new handles on the Gamedrobe, and we've also fitted the mounts for the monitor and the ring light, as you can see at the back of the Gamedrobe and the top. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I've got some USB strip lights, so I'm going to cut those down to size and then I'm going to stick those in the Gamedrobe. Okay, so we've now got our strip lights installed. As you can see, we have a strip light in the bottom, we have a strip light running across the shelf just here, as you can see, and we have a strip light running across the top. Okay, so now we've got the LED light strips up and ready to go. We're just going to power it up and see what it looks like. As you can see, we've got the LED light strips at the bottom, and then we've got one running across the shelf here, and then one running across the bottom of that shelf at the top. So if we have a close look at the bottom, you can see that the strip lights are running down the sides. And there's the main shelf with the light strip running across there, just below where the monitor will go. And there's the other strip light just behind the mount that's going to be used for the ring light. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is I've actually got some grey and some black soundproofing foam. They're still a little bit flat because I've only just opened the packaging as they were flat packed. So hopefully that'll spring back out soon. But I actually got those off eBay as packs of 12. But anyway, so I'm actually going to use these sheets and I'm going to keep them as a whole sheet, and I'm going to put them so they go grey, black, and so on, just so it looks a lot nicer. But rather than keep them as a whole square, what I'm going to do, if I just pop that to the side, rather than, here's one that I've done earlier, but rather than have the lines go all one way, I'm actually going to turn 2 of the corners, as I think that looks a lot better and it'll stop the sound a little bit more. It's only really to reduce echo, it's not to completely stop sound and make it fully soundproof, because I know that these panels won't fully stop sound, but they will stop echoes, which is what I want. But I do feel as though that looks a lot better than that, and I'll do the same with the black ones, and then I'm just going to go all the way around the inside of the Gamedrobe, and we'll come back when I've done that. Okay, so that's all the foam done. I'm now going to add a few finishing touches to it before we can put the PC in there, so I'll add those and we'll see what it looks like after that. So as you can see, I've added 2 cloth covers for the shelves. We have a Blue Yeti Blackout Edition microphone and a pop filter, and I've also added a mount for my Xbox One S controller. At the top there I've added my ring light, which just pulls down. It just needs to be plugged in. So that's my Gamedrobe all set and ready to go. I just need to add my PC and monitor and it'll all be complete. So thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll hope to see you soon. Thanks again.